So the finals grand major of 2025 has concluded, and that marks the end of our first year of competitive esports within the finals. Hey guys, it's Sam, and today I'm going to be breaking down everything that happened at the grand major. If you guys are new here or you haven't seen one of these recap videos before, just keep in mind that these are typically pretty high level. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty of every single map here as there's a lot to cover. If you are looking for content like that, definitely check out videos which either are out now or will be out soon by Artie and also Young. So the Grand Major 25, which I'll be referred to as TGM 25, was the first ever esports event that actually Cody and I ever attended. It took place live in Stockholm, Sweden at DreamHack, and it was honestly the best word to describe it was electric. It was insane. Both days lasting almost 9 hours apiece, and I can tell you that I was glued to my seat, except for the one time where we had to do a stream at DreamHack, which lasted like 3 hours over in the Creator Zone, but it was an amazing experience nonetheless. And of course, with the Finals Esports, we know that there are a lot of unforgettable moments, which we'll try to show you here in this video. But honestly, I recommend if you got time during your day, just go watch the VODs of this tournament. Our friends Sensoyo, Waltz, Burrito, Rio, Artie, Jerry all did an amazing job keeping the energy up and casting and, relaying all the information that's ever necessary in the finals, as it is a crazy game if you've ever played. And to be honest with you, I've watched these VODs back already a couple times and they are incredible. So definitely check out the full tournament if you missed it. All right, so before we even start talking about the matches, we got to talk about the format, as if you're new to the Finals Esports, we really don't follow traditional formats here like in other sports or esports. So teams were placed into groups to start with, and I don't really know what the criteria was for seeding or if it was randomly assigned, but we had some stacked groups to kick us off. In Group A, we had Envy, Pulsar, Five Fears, and FN Esports. In Group B, we had Kansas City Pioneers, Fnatic, Team Secret, and DRG. In Group C, we had Vanguard Gaming, Alliance, Nightmare, and King Zero. And in Group 4, we had TSM, Gen G, Space Station Gaming, and Ape Squad. Now, if you didn't catch our video before this, or again, if you're new to the Finals Esports, check out this video, as we actually made a guide to kind of get you up to speed on everything before the major and what happened after closed qualifiers up until this point. A lot of teams were under different roster names, and then they got picked up by orgs just before the tournament. So check that out, watch it, and then come right back here. All right, so going into the tournament and breaking down Group A just to start things off, we kind of knew that there were some front runners in this group, right? Looking at it, Envy should take everything. I mean, they are one of the most dominant teams here in the North America scene. And to be honest with you, the competition behind them isn't really that strong yet. A lot of these teams are newer on the scene or a little more put together, whereas Envy have been around together since kind of the beginning of competitive finals all the way back in PHL Season 0 under the team name of Bricked. And Envy did just that. They won their cash out pretty dominantly and also brought alongside them Pulsar, which honestly was kind of cool because we talked to Pulsar for the first time ever. Specifically, Brutal Logic is our first time meeting him in person, and he's one of the few people I think I've ever heard say that their team is a cash out team. So it was a little not as surprising to see them go through, but it was cool nonetheless. Now, moving on to their final round, though, unfortunately, Pulsar did fall 2-1 to Envy. It was a relatively dominant series, and Envy managed to punch their ticket to day 2. Meanwhile, Pulsar was able to punch their ticket to phase 2 of day 1. Now, you may have just heard me say, day 2 and phase 2, and what is the difference between those? So the thing is with the Finals Esports, right, is it's kind of a gauntlet. You want to get in early. You want to either qualify or at least progress through a phase early, because otherwise you're playing way more matches and the endurance definitely starts to take a hit over time, and it can honestly make you struggle a lot more in the future of your tournament. And so with the format, if you do win this first final round, you do progress automatically to day 2. Whereas if you come in second place, so you lose your final round, but you made it through the cash out, you automatically progress to phase 2 and you skip an entire row of elimination matches. All right, great. Now that we've got all of that out of the way and a lot of the backstory done, let's talk about the rest of these groups. So Group B consisted of Kansas City Pioneers, Fnatic, Team Secret, and DRG, and we see Kansas City Pioneers and DRG making it through. Now, one thing that I want to talk about real quick is DRG is a team from China, and it's a team that really we haven't seen much of before, unless you had a connection that could show you some footage from Billy, for example. But this team really did not scrim anybody that attended the tournament, which is very interesting because even with ping and things like that, we saw esports try against some teams. We also saw King Zero try against some teams as well. But DRG was a complete dark horse and a team that we just hadn't seen before. Ultimately, though, Kansas City Pioneers did wind up going 2-1 against DRG and progressed to day 2, whereas DRG did progress to phase 2. In Group C, we had probably one of the most stacked lobbies of the day. We had Vanguard Gaming, Alliance, which is the top team from the European region, nTmr, which is the top team of the North American region, and King Zero. Again, another APAC dark horse that really we didn't know much about. Now, nTmr and King Zero did make it through the cash out, and nTmr very dominantly 2-0 King Zero to advance to day 2. And again, King Zero moves on to phase 2. Also important to note here that means Alliance do have to run the gauntlet and try not to get eliminated out of the tournament on day 1. The stress was high. Obviously, here at TFC, we were big fans of Young and great friends with him, so we kind of had a team that we were pulling for when it comes to Alliance, and they had us on the edge of our seat the entire day. Now, let's talk about Group 4, which consisted of TSM, Gen.G, Space Station Gaming, and Ape Squad. Something I need to talk about real quick is TSM and their story of actually how they got to the major. And I'm not talking about their closed quals run or talking about, all the trials and tribulations they went through in the scene and online to get there. No, I'm talking about literally how they got to the tournament. You see, they were on the plane from Atlanta, apparently, and somebody got up and pulled the emergency exit lever, which deployed the slide on the tarmac. So that's pretty bad, right? Obviously, the plane then deplaned and created a huge delay for these players that were already coming in kind of late to the tournament and getting into Stockholm. Now, remember, these are North American players, and that means that they're going to be already dealing with jet lag. Right, so fast forward, they do get a second flight out of Atlanta, and they board it, and then apparently there's smoke or something. And so they deplane again, which is insane. And yet their day was delayed yet again. And finally, the third flight, they were actually able to go to, I believe, Amsterdam. Now, once they get to Amsterdam, unfortunately, there was yet another flight delay, and apparently Janice from Embark came in clutch and was able to get there on time, as they were originally going to experience a 10-hour layover. Now, you would think after TSM went through everything that they did, they probably showed up really tired and maybe were a little slow out the gate. Well, you're wrong. They absolutely played amazing, not just in day 1, but honestly all weekend. They made it through their cash out along with Space Station Gaming, but did ultimately fall 2-1 against SSG, moving on to phase 2, whereas SSG move on to day 2. But overall, I mean, with everything that they dealt with to even get to the series, that is an incredible start to the tournament. All right, so now we've done all of our qualification matches, at least to day 2. Now we need to figure out who else is going to make it to phase 2. So again, we kind of follow a similar structure. Teams are broken into 2 groups now and are going to play cash out. Based on the winnings of those cash outs, teams will then play for qualification to phase 2, which again is still part of day 1. The losers of those matches are going to be up for elimination and are going to have to play final round against each other to determine who stays and who goes home. Now, in our first cash out group, we had 5 Fears, FN Esports, Fnatic, and Team Secret, and there are 2 teams in here that are honestly a big surprise to even see here, and that's Fnatic and Team Secret, both 2 of the top teams from the Europe region that could potentially be up for elimination based on how this goes. Fnatic and FN Esports actually make it through the cash out, and then Fnatic wind up winning 2-1 against FN Esports, qualifying themselves to phase 2. Now, after that series, we have a best of 3 between 2 teams to determine who gets eliminated and who plays against the loser of the final round to determine who makes it to phase 2. So we then watch Team Secret play against 5 Fears, which they did win 2-0. Then Team Secret plays against Fnatic, and again 2-0 Fnatic, and takes them both out and moves on to phase 2. All right, so now we know almost all of our phase 2 teams. Let's go ahead and fill out the rest of the group by watching the cash out from Vanguard Gaming, Alliance, Gen.G, and Apes. Again, Alliance are the team that should take this, and they do. They move on with Apes to the final round and then decide to 2-0 Apes to qualify for phase 2. They are safe, at least for now. Next up, we had to watch the elimination match of Vanguard Gaming against Gen.G, which Vanguard did win 2-1, sending Gen.G home. And finally, we had Ape Squad against Vanguard Gaming, and Apes winded up taking it home the victory against Vanguard and progressed to Phase 2. Following the conclusion of the Ape Squad series, we now have all of our teams for Phase 2 who will be fighting for those final 4 slots to Day 2. In our first group, we have Pulsar, DRG, fnatic, and Team Secret, which again, on paper, fnatic and Team Secret should be the favored teams here. And we see fnatic go into final round against DRG. Now, one thing to mention about this series, and I'll just let you see this clip of Hathaway running sniper rifle with thermal bore, is that's the finals, baby. Meta does not exist necessarily all the time, as teams will pull out some wild picks, and just check out RD's reaction to this.
What on earth? And Banal of all maps as well. This is a fantastic place for it. He's got the thermal bore, which is a brilliant pick if you're running this. We did see this earlier from Dragon Ranger Gaming. It's useful in so many ways. Used it to deny a point earlier. Used it to drop.
Oh yeah, but
but
alongside the sniper, it does actually make even more sense. I run that in ranked all the time, so it's crazy to see my ranked loadout now appearing here at the Grand Major. But he going to be taking out Reiki there. It looks like fnatic is down to just not Ghost in the question.
Unfortunately, though, the series is pretty dominant, as fnatic 2-0 DRG to qualify for Day 2 and to send DRG up for elimination in a cash-out game. All right, so taking a look at the second group of Phase 2, we've got King Zero, TSM, Alliance, and Ape Squad. And once again, we have Alliance and TSM, two of the strongest teams of this group, and they both actually wind up going through. Ultimately, though, Alliance do win 2-1 and progress all the way to Day 2, whereas TSM then have to play in a qualification match to Day 2 against DRG. TSM do wind up dominating, beating DRG 2-0 and progress to Day 2, and DRG are going to have one more opportunity to potentially qualify to Day 2. Now, here comes probably the scariest moment of the tournament, and that's going to be the teams that didn't actually even get to play in a qualification match in this Phase 2. Those teams actually move on to an elimination cash out. And if you've been watching the finals or you play the finals, you know how easy and scary it can be to wind up getting third and fourth, kind of out of your control in cash out. Unfortunately, this time it does mean that you're going home if you finished up third and fourth. And unfortunately, we do say goodbye to Pulsar and King Zero here, as Team Secret and Ape Squad make it out. Finally, Team Secret and Ape Squad play against each other in an elimination final round game, but Team Secret beat Ape Squad 2-0, sending home Apes back to the jungle. And that brings us to our last series of the day. And if you look at the bracket, you're going to notice there's not a score at all. See, the last series of Day 1 actually came down to the time that we had at DreamHack, and the venue was closing. So unfortunately, they did postpone this series to Day 2 to kick us off. Now, put yourself in these players' shoes for a moment. You know, Day 1, you're typically expected to be done and you're either out of the tournament or you're safely in Day 2 and you prepare to go next. But DRG and Team Secret had to go to bed knowing that they were going to start the day with an elimination match that they should have played the day before. And ultimately, it was an interesting series, to say the least. So starting the day off, we had quite an interesting match, as DRG are playing against Team Secret for their tournament lives. And that does birth one of the funniest clips I think I've seen in the finals esports of Hathaway assuming the role of a construction worker.
Halfway through the timer already. OG losing a lot of health. Secret decide they want to force DRG out. Pushing here. They brought the cash out down. Likely going to winch that off. Going for the steal. Goo goes down. How do they decide to push this now? It doesn't look like DRG are that interested actually in contesting. There's a jump pad from Guga, but AR behind. Roman's able to go ahead and take out E. He's there. E by himself. Hathaway's in the crane. He's busy operating large machinery. What are you doing? It's not work time. It's playtime. What are we doing, Hathaway?
Well,
all jokes aside, though, Team Secret do wind up knocking out DRG and sending them home with a 2-0 victory and secure their spot for Day 2, even though they played it on Day 2. Anyways, let's get into the next part. All right, so Day 2 pretty much starts the same way as Day 1 and closed qualifiers, where teams are playing each other in a cash out to then play in a final round, which will qualify them over to the grand final, or send teams to an elimination match to send them home. We started with 8 teams and we needed to whittle it down to 4, and our first group of the day was nTmr, Kansas City Pioneers, fnatic, and Team Secret. And after an absolutely cinema cash out game, Team Secret and fnatic make it through, making sure that we have a European team moving on to the grand finals. Team Secret ultimately wind up winning against Fnatic in a best of 1 and then punched their ticket to the grand final. Now, our second group of the day was definitely a strong one and a scary one to be in. It consisted of Envy, Space Station Gaming, Alliance, and TSM. And ultimately, Space Station Gaming and Envy wind up moving on to the final round where they play a best of 1, and Space Station Gaming topple Envy and move on to the grand finals. Next up, we have our best of 3 elimination matches from the first phase of day 2, which is going to consist of the losers from those cash out games we watched earlier. So we had to watch Nightmare go up against Kansas City Pioneers, and Nightmare, looking on fire as always, did topple KCP going 2-1. Next up, we had to watch the best of 3 from group 2, which consisted of Alliance and TSM. And this was the moment that I lost my voice forever, as Treason unfortunately does fall off the map on map 2 to take Alliance down a map after being up 1-0. And then finally, they just couldn't seem to pull it together as TSM played an amazing game and knocked out the top European team Alliance 2-1.
Unleashing damage onto the enemy. The steal with success. TSM take it, and we're going to back 3.
Oh my god, TSM, it looked impossible.
So after we say goodbye to Alliance, we have 4 more teams remaining and only 2 slots to go to enter into the grand final. We have Nightmare, TSM, Fnatic, and Envy. Yet again, another stacked lobby, which, I mean, come on, this is going to be the case for the rest of this tournament, am I right? We do actually see Fnatic and TSM make it through the cash out and then again play in a best of 1, where we see Fnatic win 1-0 in a best of 1 over TSM to punch their ticket to the grand final.
They had such a steam roll at the beginning. They lost a little bit of momentum, but it was just a small sidestep to victory for them.
Next up, we had 2 elimination games that were best of 3. We had Nightmare versus Envy, 2 Titans from the North America region. And to be honest with you, it could go either way, but Nightmare wind up 2-1 over Envy and send Envy home.
He has to stall for any chance that he can. The flip is going on. Lasagna holding it for dear life. They're getting busy down as well. He goes for the win. He doesn't get it. He didn't get it. Nightmare gonna get the flip. Nightmare beats Envy. Oh my God. Oh my God. We're sending Envy home. The Titan, the team that everybody was waiting.
And then finally, our last best of 3 series where Nightmare win 2-0 over TSM, punching their ticket to grand finals and sending TSM finally home. Now, TSM again played an absolutely amazing tournament. I personally just want to say it's been incredible to watch them as they are totally new to the scene compared to a lot of these teams. They came from Splitgate. They're all controller players. They had a crazy flight travel to even make it here, and ultimately should be really proud of where they placed. Oh boy, now we have our final 4 teams for the grand finals. Now, if you're not familiar or you didn't watch that recap video like I told you should watch, here's a breakdown of how this works. We're going to switch things over to a heat system where basically the 4 teams are going to play each other in a cash out, and then the top 2 teams are going to play 2 final round matches. If you win a final round match, then you earn a point. The first team to 5 points wins. Now again, remember, if you make it through the cash out, you have 2 opportunities to earn a point, or you could earn 2 points if you win both of the matches. Now, as a reminder, in grand finals, we had our final 4 teams. We had Space Station Gaming, Fnatic, Team Secret, and Nightmare. And all that I could say is these series were a bang out. Now, after our first bang out of a cash out, we did have Nightmare and Space Station Gaming move on to the final round, where they played a very, very competitive 2 matches. Map 1 literally came down to the wire, but ultimately Nightmare take home map 1, bringing them up 1-0 in the entire series. And map 2 again came down to the absolute wire. Space Station Gaming almost managing to clutch it up as Noah or Normalize comes in with a goo grenade to try to stall this thing out, and ultimately it doesn't work out. Somehow Uni and Gremlin clutched this thing and managed to get a last second steal again, making Nightmare go up 2 points in the entire heat series. And we started to think maybe we were seeing a rerun of PHL where Nightmare went up like pretty much 4-0 on everybody and then immediately got targeted by everybody in the lobby from that series on. Now, our second cash out game was pretty interesting as we started to see some strategies pop up that we've honestly never seen before out of these teams. And I'll let Artie kind of talk about, you know, what I'm mentioning.
Characteristically, letting that cash out go with nary a fight had. Just trying to pick from range, but instead they're actually getting the worst of this advantage. Nigiri losing a lot of health there. They have to go for the slip right now. Grad very low, but there's already one down on fnatic. Looking for the step. They already have flipped at SSG in control.
Wait, I just noticed Grad's on Invis too? Wow. This is what I was talking about. A lot of these teams are waiting for this moment. There's nothing left to hide. We do see Team Secret.
Yeah, seeing Grad on Cloak is something that I personally never expected. I mean, he is known for that 93R and dash, but teams do seem to have a lot of plans in their back pockets that I don't even think they tried in scrims. And overall, kind of worked out for a few of them. Ultimately, once again, we have a rematch between nTmr and Space Station Gaming, as they do take the top 2 slots in the cash out game. And this is where we start to wonder if NA supremacy is finally here, because we haven't seen North America play against Europe pretty much since PHL Season 1. It's been an entire competitive cycle before we've seen these matchups again. And overall, nTmr and Space Station Gaming were dominating fnatic and Team Secret, to say the least. At the end of the first final round, nTmr go up 2-0 against Space Station Gaming, securing both cash outs in a very dominant game. And this is when we see nTmr really take off as a team. They looked pretty unstoppable, and this was the case again in PHL Season 2. So we were a little curious if we were going to see, you know, them start to get targeted like we saw in PHL Season 2. However, I said previously that Envy, I feel like, are the masterminds behind these kind of targets, and they're not in the tournament anymore. So we'll just have to stay tuned and see what happens. Now, map 2 of Heat 2 was a lot more competitive, as Space Station Gaming did manage to secure a cash out, but once again, nTmr ultimately securing 2 and beating SSG to put them up 4 points, whereas the rest of the lobby have 0. It is now match and tournament point, where if nTmr secure one more map win in final round, they are the TGM 25 champions. So finally, Heat 3 cash out is where we start to see some life, and we start to see that kind of tactical targeting that we see onto nTmr. Teams realize that nTmr cannot make it through to final round, and they need to do everything they can to work together to prevent that from happening. And that's when we see something totally different. So nTmr managed to snag Vault 6, and they do look like they're going to go get a plug, as they are in second place, and that would give them a decent cushion to maybe secure the map win. But that's when things flip on their head, and I'll let you watch the rest.
2 kills from fnatic, or even just the amount of cash from a steal. But if nTmr plugs this, that would be a significant lead. Grad takes out one player on fnatic.
They're going to sit on this. They're going to just sit in the corner.
Wait, they know it's a kill race.
They know it's a kill race. Secret on the other side of the map aren't tapping the vault. Secret
are guardians of Vault 5. Everybody knows it's just a kill race.
But they should open this. They should open this, because if it's not plugged.
nTmr is playing off the fact that they know that Secret's holding the other vault, and that every other team would have to come their way. And they know that given the cash advantage that they have now, it's better if they take the fight to them in a defensive position. 5D chest.
How is everyone doing maths this fast? I cannot believe it. These players are on another level.
Team Secret needs to let somebody else tap the vault just for the 1K you get for opening.
But even just a couple kills would still put them in the way. fnatic, they're actually in second by kills. The points that they're getting, they're ahead of nTmr. nTmr might need to deposit here.
Wait, SSG, they're catching up. Only 1 kill would put SSG ahead of nTmr. Can they do it, though?
At this point, there's an option for any one of these teams to feed each other kills. Grad gets a pick on Gremlin, and that's going to extend that gap that SSG have over fnatic right now, with only 10 seconds left. We see nTmr. They've won! Win nTmr!
It's safe! It is safe! The jury is still out, though, on whether or not fnatic or SSG will pass through. Only 1 kill separates them. It's fnatic! We get an EU set!
Where did the wipe come from? nTmr! I know they came close to make sure they didn't lose the kill race, but why all 3?
They had to try and take fights, a number of fights, to make sure.
And finally, we see some life out of EU as they make it through to the final round. And God, that clip literally gives me chills. Like, I don't think you understand how loud the crowd was. I mean, my voice was gone. I was screaming and nothing was coming out, but it was absolutely electric. And now we're finally seeing Team Secret against Fnatic, which means we also get another heat, which means we also get more competitive in the finals. So map 1 of the final round went in favor of Team Secret, and it was pretty dominant, with Team Secret getting 2 cash outs and Fnatic unfortunately getting none. Now, this Fnatic team, I was a little surprised by in these grand final heats, as they actually, I predicted to kind of maybe take the whole thing home. I think after PHL, they looked the most improved out of any team that I had seen, and I really thought I'd see them going the distance. But ultimately, Team Secret, again, taking map 1, 2 cash outs to 0. Now, moving on to map 2, it again was a lot closer, but Team Secret, again, take home a point over Fnatic by going 2-1 against them in cash outs. So our next cash out game started with ntmr looking absolutely dominant like they have been. By vaults 5 and 6, ntmr were at $34,000, which is a pretty good number to say the least. But we had Team Secret at 15,000. We also had Fnatic at 18,000, and Team Secret had a box plugged onto B. Now, in this scenario, you typically want to plug the other box into the other cash out, and the reason being because you give Team Secret and Fnatic a chance to wind up knocking ntmr into 3rd place. If they do that, then that means you get to go to another heat, and that does keep your tournament alive. However, Space Station Gaming had $1,000 to their name and decided to go for a pretty unconventional play. It looks like instead that they decided to double the cash out onto B, which is a risky maneuver nonetheless, because this actually guarantees that ntmr will finish 2nd or higher and will have an opportunity to go for match point. Now, I'm going to play you a clip of the commentary from that moment where Space Station Gaming did double it. And something that Jerry mentioned is that the macro is out of whack. And that is something that we've kind of talked about a bit here when it comes to this format, specifically the grand finals, is that it's more than just map to map, right? I do understand Space Station Gaming's point of maybe we double it. And I think that as a team, we have the strongest chance to win against ntmr, but ultimately, it's just such a risky play, because if Space Station doesn't even get the flip, then you wind up having ntmr going up against the team that you personally believe might not win the thing. So nonetheless, it's pretty interesting, but watch the clip. We'll check it all unfold.
It matters. 3 up.
Uni's the last one alive here on ntmr.
Wait, SSG has the box. They have. Wait,
SSG.
Wait.
No,
You can't double it.
double. What are you doing?
No! SSG is guaranteed that ntmr goes into the next final round.
What's wrong with you?
SSG could have just set us up for this being the final heat.
SSG, they had their macro out of whack. They thought they had to double to give themselves a chance to go through, but now they have guaranteed ntmr a spot in that final round. Now it is all about who goes through with ntmr.
Disastrous macro decision, and now somebody wants to get through.
SSG just got wiped by Fnatic. There's no way. SSG, are they throwing?
They are all guaranteed, almost but guaranteed at this point, to not be going through. Secret desperately want to hold on to make sure they can prevent ntmr from winning, get to their point, get further in this bracket.
About 50 seconds left in the lobby. There is a chance of Space Station Gaming coming in and steal this back, but they have lost 2 series against ntmr. We want an EU side to go through. Give us a chance to beat.
And so after a bunch of back and forth, we have our next final round series and potentially our last map of the tournament. And that is going to be ntmr against Team Secret. Now, on paper, maybe this is the best matchup available. I mean, SSG did lose 4 maps in a row to ntmr, so maybe not having them in the match actually works out better. Fnatic also have 0 points to their name, and Team Secret's the only one that has 2. So, I mean, overall, this is probably the closest matchup if we're looking at it on paper, of course. All right, so map 1 of final round, which is the opportunity for ntmr to close out this tournament, and it gets close. ntmr secure cash out 1 pretty dominantly, wiping Secret quite a few times along the way, but cash out 2 becomes a lot more competitive as Secret do actually control it with not much time remaining on the cash out timer. However, in true ntmr fashion, they do wipe Team Secret and get a last-minute steal on the cash out and become the Grand Major 25 World Champions. Now, I personally want to congratulate ntmr, as they have proved twice now that they are by far the most dominant team in North America, and have now also proven that they are the most dominant team globally within competitive the finals. The squad is looking unbeatable. They played an absolutely amazing tournament where every single match it looked like they were the favorite, and they absolutely showed up every single time and defied the odds along the way during the grand final. To win with 5 points on the board, whereas the only team with points is Team Secret with 2, is genuinely insane. Because as we've seen before, they basically have to 3v9 their way to do it. And again, a huge congratulations to the boys over at ntmr. And that marks the end of the finals competitive season for 2025. It has been an absolute roller coaster, and not to get sappy, but I want to just mention a few things real quick. First, thank you so much to Embark Studios for creating not only this amazing game, but for fostering esports within it. It's something that we heard about when we started getting into the finals towards the end of season 5 again, and honestly, it has been an incredible ride. To all of you who are watching this video or people that we've interacted with, thank you guys so much for supporting us, for coming and saying hello. If you're a pro player, thanks so much for playing in the scene and helping grow this thing, because I genuinely believe that this is the best FPS esport on the market. And if you're not with me on that, then you didn't watch enough of it to know what you're talking about. I'm gonna be honest with you. Also, I do want to say as well, thank you guys just in the community in general. This year was a hard year, I'm not gonna lie, emotionally, and grinding content and trying to help grow the pro scene and the finals esports, even as little as we do here at TFC, has kept me going personally. It's been an amazing experience, and when you're doing content at home, you know, it's hard not to get wrapped up in just everything being a number. The amount of subscribers you have, the amount of followers you have, how well a video is doing, how poorly a video is doing, whether your podcast has listens, whether people care what you have to say. And going in person to DreamHack was truly one of the best weeks of my life. It showed me that all of this was worth it. All the work that we've put in, all the sacrifices that we've made along the way, you know, time away from family, time away from friends, relationships ending, things like that. It was all worth it to me personally in the end. And that's all thanks to you guys. And genuinely, thank you so much. The 2025 season was truly incredible. I mean, it is the birth of something that I think is amazing. The Grand Major was insane. In fact, like, there were people sitting in the aisles, all the seats were filled, and then you had like 3 to 4 rows standing in the back. I mean, we were beyond capacity at where the final stage was for the Grand Major compared to other venue, like other esports that were going on at DreamHack, and we were by far the loudest crowd. And I think that that just proves that this thing is finally taking off and is finally the thing that we've all seen and believed in. So thank you to all of you for helping grow it. Thank you to the amazing casters and talent, the people at Pro Hubs, the people at Ape Squad. I mean, you guys fostered this thing, and I mean, I hope you're really proud of what you've accomplished, and I hope that maybe us here at TFC can help take even more of an active role in TGM 26. I know personally Cody and I are looking to ramp up on our casting, as well as doing B streams and things like that. So if you, viewer, are watching this video and you want to get involved in the finals esports, whether you're hosting a tournament or things like that, and we can help you in any way, please feel free to reach out to us. We are open to any and all opportunities to help continue to grow this scene. And that's pretty much it. That's enough of the soapy, you know, emotional things, but this has been a truly incredible experience. And thank you to all of you for watching this video so far. Again, I know this is a very high level overview of what the major was like. There are a lot of key plays and really awesome moments from the tournament that I didn't even capture in this video. So be on the lookout for things that are more in detail. Again, I know Artie and Young are both working on incredible videos. They're both coaches. Artie's the coach of Team Secret. Young is the coach of Alliance. Like, those videos are going to be incredible. And so if they're out by the time that I release this, I will link them down below. But otherwise, just subscribe to their channels with notifications on. You're in for a treat once those release. If you enjoyed our content and you enjoy high-level overviews of the finals esports, definitely drop us a subscription as well, as we are going to be back and better than ever in 2026. If you enjoy community tournaments or want to play in a competitive format, go ahead and join our Discord as well. We are already talking about maybe spinning up a Point Break tournament, which is the finals new casual mode. And we're going to be doing a lot in 2026 overall. TFC is more motivated than ever. So thank you guys again for watching. Thank you for supporting the finals. Thank you, Embark, as well, for all that you do. And we'll see you in 2026 and see you at the finals.